Purpose is rarely something that appears fully formed in a single moment. It is discovered through exploration, observation, and engagement with the world around you. The brain functions as a sophisticated pattern recognition system, constantly evaluating experiences, feedback, and outcomes to determine what activities are most meaningful or rewarding. When you engage in a variety of tasks and pay attention to how you respond, emotionally, cognitively, and physically, you begin to notice patterns that reveal your natural inclinations and interests. This is the foundation of identifying a unique purpose. It requires both action and awareness, an iterative process in which the brain collects data from lived experiences and uses it to guide future behavior. The first aspect of this process is active engagement. Trying new activities exposes you to a range of stimuli and challenges that the brain can evaluate. Some experiences will naturally capture attention and produce sustained engagement, while others may feel draining or uninteresting. The distinction is important because the brain signals intrinsic motivation when it perceives alignment between effort and reward. When a task feels rewarding without external pressure, dopamine and other neuromodulators increase, reinforcing engagement and signaling that this activity aligns with your strengths and interests. Over time, repeated exposure to these kinds of experiences allows the brain to map out areas where energy, attention, and satisfaction consistently converge. Observation is equally critical. Simply performing tasks is not enough. You must pay attention to how you feel during and after the activity. Which moments brought a sense of flow, excitement, or accomplishment? Which experiences left you drained, frustrated, or indifferent? By consciously noticing these responses, the prefrontal cortex can process not just the outcomes of actions, but the internal signals associated with them. This reflection helps create a mental database of what resonates deeply with your values and natural abilities. Even small, seemingly insignificant observations accumulate over time, providing insight into patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. Another element of exploration is embracing novelty while avoiding the trap of distraction. The brain is naturally drawn to new stimuli, which can be a double-edged sword. Trying diverse activities is essential for discovering purpose, but constantly chasing novelty without depth prevents the formation of meaningful patterns. Purpose emerges when exploration is paired with sustained attention, repeated engagement with activities that produce intrinsic satisfaction and a sense of competence. This combination allows the brain to reinforce neural pathways associated with motivation, focus, and skill development. It is also important to recognize that exploration is a gradual process. Rarely will a single activity immediately reveal a lifelong calling. Instead, purpose is uncovered through accumulation, noticing recurring themes, refining preferences, and understanding which actions consistently produce engagement and fulfillment. Each experiment in behavior or skill building acts as a data point, helping the brain adjust predictions about what is meaningful. Over time, these repeated cycles of exploration and observation provide clarity, revealing the domains in which your interests, abilities, and the value you bring to others intersect. By intentionally engaging in new activities and observing the patterns that emerge from them, the brain can gradually identify areas of sustained motivation and intrinsic satisfaction. This iterative process lays the groundwork for discovering a unique purpose, turning curiosity and attention into actionable insight, and aligning daily behavior with long-term fulfillment. Flow is a powerful indicator of alignment between skill and challenge, and it plays a central role in helping the brain identify what is meaningful and engaging. Flow occurs when a task stretches your abilities just enough to require full focus, but does not overwhelm your capacity to manage it. In this state, the brain releases a combination of neuromodulators, including dopamine and norepinephrine, which heighten attention, improve learning, and create a strong sense of intrinsic reward. The experience of flow signals that an activity is well matched to your current abilities and provides valuable information about where your interests and strengths intersect. Paying attention to moments of flow allows the brain to map patterns of engagement and begin to define what activities may align with your unique purpose. The mechanics of flow involve multiple brain systems working together. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control, works in tandem with the brain's reward circuits to allocate attention and effort toward the task at hand. When an activity is challenging yet achievable, the prefrontal cortex remains active enough to guide focus, while dopamine signals provide motivation and reinforcement. Simultaneously, norepinephrine enhances alertness and cognitive processing, allowing for faster learning and adaptation. This combination creates a state where the brain is deeply absorbed in the activity, distractions fade, and performance improves naturally. The intensity and quality of this absorption are strong indicators of areas in which your skills and interests are naturally aligned. Flow is not simply about enjoyment. It is a feedback mechanism that informs the brain about the optimal balance of challenge and competence. Tasks that are too easy fail to engage attention or stimulate motivation, producing boredom rather than satisfaction. Tasks that are too difficult overwhelm the cognitive system, triggering stress responses and discouraging continued engagement. The sweet spot, where flow occurs, provides both pleasure and learning. By recognizing and tracking these experiences, you can identify patterns that reveal where your unique capabilities and interests converge. These patterns are critical because they provide an objective signal from the brain about where sustained effort is likely to feel rewarding and meaningful. Developing the ability to recognize flow also requires deliberate attention and reflection. Many people move quickly through tasks without noticing the moments when they are fully absorbed. By consciously observing when attention is effortless, time seems to pass differently, and progress feels intrinsically satisfying, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex's capacity to evaluate experiences. This reflection reinforces learning by allowing the brain to consolidate what types of challenges and tasks consistently produce engagement. Over time, these observations inform decisions about which activities are most aligned with your skills and passions. Flow also interacts with long-term growth. Repeated exposure to tasks that induce flow not only increases skill, but also strengthens motivation. The more the brain experiences the rewarding state of focused engagement, the more it seeks similar experiences. This creates a positive feedback loop. Effort leads to intrinsic reward, which motivates further effort, gradually refining both competence and purpose. Recognizing the activities that consistently produce flow allows the brain to prioritize experiences that support skill development, personal growth, and alignment with long-term goals. By paying attention to moments of flow, understanding the balance of challenge and skill, and reflecting on these experiences, you create a reliable internal signal of where your engagement and abilities align. This state serves as a guide, helping the brain highlight activities that are most likely to be meaningful, intrinsically motivating, and aligned with your evolving sense of purpose. Reflection is a critical tool for understanding purpose because it allows the brain to integrate experiences, emotions, and outcomes into coherent insight. When you actively reflect on your actions, the brain engages regions such as the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, decision-making, and evaluating long-term goals. Reflection is not a passive activity. It is a deliberate process of observing internal states, analyzing patterns, and making connections between behaviors and their effects. By doing so, you create a bridge between what you do and what you find meaningful, which is essential for discovering and refining a unique purpose. One of the key benefits of reflection is that it enhances awareness of intrinsic motivation. When the brain repeatedly encounters activities that produce engagement and satisfaction, dopamine and other neuromodulators signal that these experiences are rewarding. Reflection amplifies this signal by drawing conscious attention to these moments. Journaling, for example, allows you to record which tasks felt fulfilling and why, making patterns easier to detect over time. Similarly, discussing experiences with mentors, peers, or coaches creates external feedback loops that provide additional perspectives, helping to refine understanding of what resonates deeply with your abilities and values. Reflection also accelerates learning by allowing the brain to consolidate experience. During active reflection, neural circuits responsible for memory, attention, and emotional processing interact to evaluate both successes and failures. This process enables the brain to extract meaningful insights from routine or challenging experiences, transforming them into guidance for future behavior. For example, noticing that a particular project produced a sense of flow or pride in contribution provides a clear signal about where skills and interests align. Conversely, identifying activities that consistently produce frustration or disengagement helps the brain filter out paths that are less aligned with your purpose. Another important aspect of reflection is linking cognitive insight with emotional experience. Purpose is most meaningful when the activities you engage in not only make sense intellectually, but also resonate emotionally. By pausing to ask questions such as, "What felt energizing?" or "When did I feel most engaged?" you engage both analytical and affective systems of the brain. This integration strengthens the connection between thought and feeling, allowing the prefrontal cortex to guide decisions in a way that aligns with both personal values and intrinsic motivation. Over time, these repeated cycles of reflection create a clearer picture of what is fulfilling and why, reducing uncertainty and enhancing clarity about purpose. Reflection also helps in adjusting goals and expectations. Experiences rarely match predictions exactly, and without evaluating outcomes, it is difficult to learn effectively from them. By reflecting on what worked, what didn't, and how you responded emotionally, you provide the brain with critical data to recalibrate efforts and strategies. This iterative process ensures that pursuit of purpose is adaptive rather than rigid, allowing the brain to optimize effort toward areas of highest engagement and satisfaction. Finally, reflection supports long-term alignment. Purpose is not static. It evolves as skills develop, experiences accumulate, and values shift. By regularly reflecting, you maintain a dynamic map of where your interests, abilities, and meaningful contributions intersect. This ongoing practice allows for course corrections, continuous learning, and increasingly precise identification of activities that provide both intrinsic reward and lasting fulfillment. When reflection becomes a habitual part of your process, it transforms experiences into actionable insight. By observing your engagement, analyzing patterns, and linking emotion with cognition, you create a framework for understanding what truly matters to you. This deliberate practice strengthens the brain's ability to recognize meaningful opportunities, align actions with values, and navigate the ongoing journey of discovering and achieving your unique purpose. Challenges and discomfort are essential components in the process of discovering and refining your purpose because they provide critical feedback to the brain about where your strengths, interests, and resilience lie. The brain is wired to learn most efficiently when it encounters tasks that require effort and adaptation. When faced with difficulty, neural circuits responsible for problem solving, attention, and self-regulation are activated, allowing the brain to assess both your current abilities and your willingness to persist. These experiences serve as a natural testing ground, revealing the domains in which engagement produces intrinsic reward versus those that consistently feel draining or unrewarding. By approaching challenges intentionally, you create opportunities for growth while simultaneously gathering data about where your unique skills and passions intersect. The process of engaging with challenges begins with recognizing that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but an indicator of potential learning. When the brain encounters a task that exceeds current skill levels, initial stress responses may appear, including increased heart rate, heightened alertness, and even mild anxiety. These physiological reactions are part of the brain's adaptive system, designed to mobilize energy and focus for problem solving. If the challenge is approached with persistence, these stress signals gradually decrease as competence increases, and the brain begins to associate effort with reward. This is the foundation for building both resilience and a deeper understanding of which activities are truly motivating. Persistence is a key element in translating challenges into insight. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and self-control, works in tandem with reward systems to evaluate the value of continued effort. When you deliberately persist through difficulty, the neural pathways associated with focus, planning, and emotional regulation are strengthened. This reinforcement makes future engagement with similar challenges easier and more rewarding. Over time, repeated exposure to manageable but demanding tasks trains the brain to respond to effort with motivation rather than avoidance, creating a cycle that supports both skill development and clarity about purpose. Another important aspect is analyzing the outcomes of challenges. Reflection during or after difficult experiences allows the brain to consolidate learning and extract meaningful feedback. Which strategies worked? Which approaches produced satisfaction or engagement? Which tasks revealed natural strengths? By consciously observing responses to difficulty, you provide the brain with valuable data, helping it refine predictions about which activities are likely to produce both competence and intrinsic reward. These insights gradually reveal patterns that highlight your unique capabilities and interests. Challenges also reveal the alignment between personal values and actions. Activities that push boundaries but still feel meaningful are often aligned with your deeper sense of purpose. Conversely, tasks that are difficult yet consistently feel draining or disconnected from values signal areas less suited for long-term engagement. This differentiation allows the brain to prioritize energy and attention toward pursuits that are both demanding and rewarding, strengthening motivation while filtering out paths that do not resonate with your evolving sense of purpose. Finally, challenges catalyze growth by creating adaptive feedback loops. Each encounter with difficulty followed by reflection and adjustment reshapes neural circuits, enhances cognitive flexibility, and increases emotional resilience. By consistently seeking and analyzing challenges, you train the brain to recognize patterns of effort, reward, and engagement, forming a clearer map of where your skills, passions, and meaningful contributions intersect. When challenges are approached deliberately and reflected upon thoughtfully, they become more than obstacles. They transform into instruments for discovery. They provide the brain with precise feedback about capabilities, interests, and sources of intrinsic reward, allowing you to continuously refine your understanding of purpose. Goal setting is a critical step in transforming purpose from an abstract idea into actionable reality because it provides structure and measurable feedback for the brain. Purpose alone, without clear objectives, remains diffuse and difficult to act upon. The brain thrives on clear, achievable goals because they create predictable patterns of dopamine release and reward anticipation, which reinforce sustained effort. By breaking larger, long-term aspirations into smaller, concrete steps, you create a series of achievable targets that the brain can track, evaluate, and reward. Each completed step generates a sense of progress, reinforcing motivation and making the pursuit of purpose tangible rather than overwhelming. The process begins with defining specific outcomes that align with your interests, skills, and values. Broad statements like, "I want to make a difference," are less effective than precise goals such as, "I want to complete a project that educates others on a topic I care about." Specific goals provide clear parameters for action and allow the brain to anticipate rewards along the way. Once these targets are set, breaking them down into smaller, manageable sub-goals ensures that progress is consistently measurable. This segmentation creates frequent opportunities for the brain to experience success, releasing dopamine and reinforcing persistence. Feedback loops are another essential element of goal setting. The brain evaluates both action and outcome, continuously adjusting behavior based on the results of previous efforts. Without measurable goals, it is difficult for the brain to assess whether actions are leading toward meaningful outcomes. By setting incremental objectives and tracking progress, you provide the brain with frequent feedback, allowing it to calibrate effort, refine strategies, and maintain engagement. These feedback mechanisms are particularly important when pursuing long-term purposes, which often require sustained effort over months or years. Goals also influence the allocation of attention and resources. The brain naturally prioritizes actions that appear rewarding or aligned with internal motivation. Clear objectives help focus attention on tasks that matter most, minimizing wasted effort on distractions or activities that do not contribute to meaningful outcomes. In this way, goal setting enhances cognitive efficiency by providing a roadmap for deliberate action. The clarity and predictability of structured goals allow the prefrontal cortex to allocate executive resources effectively, supporting sustained focus and decision-making. Another important aspect of goal setting is balancing challenge with achievability. Goals that are too easy fail to stimulate engagement and motivation, while goals that are excessively difficult can trigger stress responses and discourage continued effort. The optimal zone lies in tasks that are demanding enough to require skill and persistence, but still achievable with effort. This balance creates a state of constructive tension that motivates action while promoting learning and growth. By calibrating goals appropriately, the brain experiences both reward and challenge, strengthening motivation and resilience simultaneously. Finally, goal setting encourages alignment between daily actions and long-term purpose. Each small, deliberate step provides evidence that the activities being pursued are meaningful and contributing to overarching aspirations. When progress is consistently observed, the brain reinforces patterns of behavior that are aligned with purpose, creating a feedback loop that strengthens motivation and persistence. By structuring action around achievable, measurable targets, goals transform abstract intentions into tangible behaviors, allowing purpose to manifest in practical, observable outcomes. When goals are clearly defined, broken into manageable steps, and accompanied by measurable feedback, the pursuit of purpose becomes structured and actionable. The brain can track progress, reinforce motivation, and allocate attention efficiently, ensuring that effort is consistently directed toward activities that are meaningful and aligned with your unique path. This process transforms intention into action and gradually bridges the gap between vision and achievement. Environment and iteration are critical factors in achieving purpose because they shape both the brain's capacity to act and the feedback it receives from experience. The brain constantly evaluates contextual cues to guide attention, effort, and decision-making, meaning that the physical and social environment can either facilitate or hinder purposeful action. A supportive environment minimizes distractions, reinforces positive habits, and provides consistent opportunities to engage with tasks aligned with your goals. Conversely, environments overloaded with competing stimuli, interruptions, or negative influences can deplete mental energy, reduce focus, and obscure the patterns of engagement that are necessary for recognizing and pursuing purpose. One key aspect of designing an environment for purpose is the intentional reduction of distractions. Modern life offers countless sources of novelty and interruption, from digital notifications to social obligations. Each of these stimuli triggers dopamine signaling, which can divert attention from long-term goals and disrupt the brain's focus on meaningful tasks. By structuring the physical and digital space, removing unnecessary distractions, creating dedicated areas for work or reflection, and establishing routines, the brain is able to sustain attention and allocate cognitive resources more efficiently. This supports deep engagement with activities that are intrinsically rewarding and aligned with personal goals. Social context is equally important. Surrounding yourself with people who support your objectives, provide constructive feedback, and model behaviors aligned with your purpose creates both motivational and cognitive reinforcement. Humans are highly responsive to social cues, and the brain naturally mirrors behaviors observed in trusted peers. Being in a community or network that values learning, effort, and perseverance strengthens neural pathways associated with discipline and motivation. Social support also provides feedback loops that accelerate learning, as the brain evaluates both personal outcomes and the reactions of others to calibrate future effort and strategy. Iteration is the complementary factor that allows purpose to evolve. The brain adapts constantly based on experience, using feedback to refine strategies and improve performance. Purpose is not static. It is a dynamic process that requires repeated cycles of action, reflection, and adjustment. Each attempt to engage with a goal or challenge provides information about what is effective, enjoyable, and aligned with personal values. Iterative practice allows the brain to test hypotheses about what is meaningful, reinforcing neural pathways that support effective behaviors and weakening those associated with inefficiency or misalignment. Combining a supportive environment with iterative practice creates a powerful feedback loop. The brain is provided with both the stability necessary to sustain focus and the flexibility required to adapt. By repeatedly engaging with tasks in a conducive environment, observing outcomes, and making adjustments, you continuously refine the alignment between effort, skill, and purpose. Small improvements accumulate over time, gradually clarifying what is most meaningful and how best to pursue it. The intentional design of your environment, coupled with deliberate iteration, also strengthens motivation. When progress is observable and feedback is consistent, the brain experiences repeated dopamine signaling associated with both effort and reward. This reinforces engagement, persistence, and the capacity to tackle increasingly complex challenges. When environment and iterative practice are integrated consistently into the pursuit of purpose, they transform abstract goals into actionable and sustainable behaviors. By shaping external conditions to reduce distractions, foster supportive social interactions, and provide opportunities for repeated practice, while simultaneously using experience to adapt and refine strategies, the brain is able to operate with clarity, focus, and resilience. This combination enables continuous learning, strengthens motivation, and ensures that purposeful action evolves in alignment with both skills and values, creating a sustainable pathway toward achieving meaningful outcomes. By intentionally shaping your environment and committing to iterative practice, you create the conditions for sustained progress toward your unique purpose. Each small adjustment in surroundings, social context, or routine enhances focus, motivation, and the brain's ability to learn from experience. Iteration ensures that your approach remains flexible, allowing you to refine strategies as skills and circumstances evolve. Over time, this combination transforms abstract intentions into consistent, purposeful action, building momentum and reinforcing behaviors that align with your deepest values. In this way, environment and iteration act together to guide you steadily toward meaningful achievement, making purpose not just a concept, but a lived reality.